So you're interested in AI investments. Good timing. We're deep diving into some new research today all about exactly that.
Excellent.
Manager appraisal of artificial intelligence investments. It's a mouthful, I know,
Catchy.
but it's from 2024, so nice and recent. And it's going to give us a framework for figuring out which AI investments are actually worth making.
That's something I think everyone wants to know right now.
Right. Everyone's jumping on the AI bandwagon, but this research actually points to a pretty high failure rate, especially when it comes to those big, ambitious moonshot projects.
Right. And this research is saying it's not just about the tech itself. Is that right?
Exactly. It's all about how managers decide which AI to invest in the first place.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about today.
Yep. We're digging into how to evaluate those AI opportunities before you commit any resources.
Love it. Let's get into it.
So the big idea here, and this is where it gets interesting, is that investing in AI, it's not just about ROI.
Okay.
It's about delegating rights and control.
So you're saying AI isn't just a tool at this point?
Well, it is a tool, but it's becoming a decision maker, right? And that's where this research comes in. It gives us a really interesting framework for thinking about that decision-making process.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the framework look like?
All right, so picture this, a 2x2 matrix.
I'm picturing it.
On one axis, you've got action autonomy.
Okay.
And on the other axis, it's all about learning autonomy.
All right, break those down for me.
So action autonomy, that's all about how much the AI actually acts on its own.
So, like, is it just making suggestions? Or is it actually pulling the trigger, so to speak?
You got it. Low action autonomy is like, hey, here's an idea. High action autonomy, that AI is making things happen.
Interesting. And learning autonomy.
That's about how the AI actually, well, learns.
Right, makes sense.
Is it working from a fixed set of data? Slow learning autonomy?
Okay.
Or is it constantly updating itself, learning from new information? That's high learning autonomy.
So it's like the difference between, I don't know, an expert with years of experience in one specific thing.
Yes.
Versus someone who's maybe newer to the game but can pick things up really quickly and adapt to new situations.
Exactly. And both are valuable, but in different ways, right?
Totally.
So let's say you're running a huge e-commerce site.
Okay.
A low action autonomy AI might analyze all your sales data and recommend products to reorder.
Right, makes sense.
But a high action autonomy AI, that AI would actually hit the order button based on real-time data.
Wow, so it's really making decisions on its own there.
It's making things happen. But it gets even more interesting when you start thinking about the learning side of things.
Okay, so how does that play into it?
So high action, high learning, that's where things get really interesting.
Like what? Give me an example.
Think self-driving cars.
Okay, yeah.
They don't just control the car.
Yeah.
Right? They're also constantly learning from new data, getting better at driving every mile.
That's a good one. What about high learning but low action? I feel like that's a bit of a weird one.
It does seem a little counterintuitive, right?
Yeah.
But think about those AI assistants we were talking about before, like an Alexa or a Siri.
Right.
They're constantly learning from you, from your interactions, but they're only taking action based on what you tell them to do.
It's true. I mean, I haven't noticed mine ordering me pizza without asking yet, so
Right.
maybe that's coming next. But okay, so that's high learning, low action. What about high action, low learning?
That's where you get into your classic automation scenarios.
Yeah.
Think like predictive maintenance in manufacturing. You've got AI analyzing sensor data to anticipate equipment failures.
Right. Keeping those machines running smoothly.
Exactly. It's taking action to prevent downtime, but it's doing it based on a pre-programmed understanding of what those sensor readings actually mean.
So it's very good at what it's trained to do, but it might not be able to handle anything outside of that.
Right, which is why it's so important to think about which quadrant of this matrix really fits your needs. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, what about low action, low learning? That seems a little basic, doesn't it?
It does, but I bet there are some good examples.
There are, and they're actually super valuable. Think about a company like, say, GE, that deals with thousands and thousands of contracts.
Yeah, okay. Lots of paperwork.
Right, so they might have an AI that reviews all those contracts, flagging anything that needs a human lawyer's attention.
Got it.
It's not rewriting the contracts, it's not negotiating new terms, it's augmenting the work of the human experts.
So it's all about playing to AI's strengths, which this framework seems to be really good at highlighting. It feels like there's something else here though, right? Like, how do I know where my company falls on this spectrum?
That is the million-dollar question, and this is where it gets really interesting. Because the article argues that your temporal tone plays a huge role.
Temporal tone, like my sense of time.
Basically, like, are you all about the future, or do you prefer sticking with what works?
Huh. Okay, so how does that play into the AI choices we make?
Well, the research breaks it down into 3 different temporal tones: iterative, projective, and practical evaluative, and each one has its own approach to AI.
Okay, I'm definitely curious to learn more. Tell me about these temporal tones.
So give me the rundown. What are these temporal tones all about, and how do they connect with AI?
Okay, so the article breaks it down into 3 main categories, like I was saying. You've got your iterative folks, your projective thinkers, and then those practical evaluative managers. Each group sees AI through a different lens, so to speak.
All right, so let's take them one by one. Let's start with iterative. What makes them tick when it comes to AI?
Well, if you're an iterative thinker, you're all about stability. You value proven processes, you trust the tried and true methods,
Okay, so the if it ain't broke, don't fix it crowd.
Yeah, kind of. They're not necessarily opposed to new technology, but they need to see that it's reliable, predictable, that it's going to work within the systems they already have in place.
Got it. So what kind of AI are they investing in?
Pre-trained AI is their comfort zone, for sure. They like knowing that the AI is working from a fixed set of knowledge, that it's not going to suddenly go off script.
So those aha moments, those unexpected discoveries that come with an AI that's constantly learning and evolving, not really their thing.
Not so much. They're more about optimizing what they already have, making those systems even more efficient and effective.
That makes sense. Okay, so that's the iterative approach. What about those projective thinkers? They sound like my kind of people, always looking ahead.
Yeah, they're the ones who are always excited about the what could be. They're future focused, always looking for the next big thing, and they see AI as a tool for unlocking that potential.
So I'm guessing they're all in on self-learning AI.
Oh yeah, they can't get enough of it. That ability to uncover hidden patterns, to adapt to new situations, to constantly evolve, that's incredibly exciting to them.
They're not afraid of a little risk, are they?
Not really. They view those inevitable failures as learning experiences, valuable data points on the path to creating something truly groundbreaking.
It's all about potential for them. What could this AI become? What could we achieve with this technology? That's a pretty different mindset from the iterative folks.
Totally different. And then you've got your practical evaluative managers who are kind of a different breed altogether.
Oh yeah, what's their take on all of this?
Well, they're the ultimate pragmatists. They're not stuck in the past or dreaming about the future. They're all about what's going to work right now in this moment.
So their approach to AI is probably pretty fluid then.
Exactly. If they need to automate a process quickly and efficiently, they might go with a pre-trained AI. But if they're dealing with a more complex situation, something that requires more adaptability, they wouldn't hesitate to embrace a self-learning AI.
So it's all about having the right tool for the job. And for them, the right tool depends entirely on the context. I like that. It's refreshing, actually. It's not about dogma. It's about results.
Exactly. It's about being flexible, adaptable, and always willing to reevaluate based on the situation.
So we've got these 3 different approaches. Iterative, focused on stability and optimization. Projective, driven by potential and innovation. And practical evaluative, all about pragmatism and flexibility. And this research is saying that understanding your own temporal tone, understanding where you fall on that spectrum, is essential for making smart AI investment decisions.
Absolutely. It's not enough to just look at the technology itself. You have to consider how that technology aligns with your company's values, your risk tolerance, your overall goals. And that's where understanding your temporal tone can be incredibly valuable.
It's like this whole conversation has added a new dimension to AI decision-making, hasn't it? It's not just about the tech anymore. It's about who we are, how we see the world, how we approach risk and innovation.
I think that's a really great way to put it. It's about understanding ourselves as much as it's about understanding the technology.
Which is a pretty profound thought when you really think about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've been hovering at this high level for a while now, talking about these different approaches and mindsets. How does this actually translate into action? Like, how do we bridge the gap between appraisal and implementation?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And this particular research focuses mainly on the pre-investment phase. But you're right, those practical considerations are crucial, especially when you're talking about something as transformative as AI.
Yeah, it's one thing to say, okay, based on my temporal tone, I think a self-learning AI is the way to go. It's another thing entirely to actually implement that AI, integrate it into your existing systems, get buy-in from your team. That's a whole other ballgame.
Oh, absolutely. And we haven't even touched on the potential ethical implications of handing over so much control to intelligent machines. That's a whole other layer of complexity.
Right, like the more we delegate to AI, the more we have to grapple with those big picture questions of control, responsibility, maybe even the very nature of intelligence itself. But maybe those are conversations for another deep dive.
Maybe so. Lots to unpack there.
For now, I think this research has given us a lot to chew on when it comes to making those initial decisions around AI investment. And that's incredibly valuable.
Definitely. It's a great starting point for having those conversations, both internally and with potential technology partners.
Right, because it's not a one-size-fits-all situation, is it?
Yeah.
What works for one company might be a complete disaster for another.
Exactly. And that's why this whole idea of temporal tone is so important. It forces you to really think about what's right for you, for your specific circumstances and goals.
It's like we've gone from which AI should I invest in to what does it even mean for a machine to be intelligent? That's quite the leap.
It's unavoidable, really. As AI takes on more responsibility in our lives, those deeper questions about control, ethics, the very nature of intelligence, they're not just philosophical anymore, are they? They're directly impacting the choices you make about adopting and implementing AI.
It's almost like every time we answer one question about AI, we just end up with a dozen more, right?
Right. It's like opening a door to a whole other room, but that room is full of more doors, and it's not always clear which ones we should be opening next.
And maybe that's part of what makes AI so fascinating. It's pushing us to think differently, not just about technology, but about ourselves, about what it means to be human in a world that's increasingly shaped by intelligent machines.
I think that's a really important point. It's easy to get caught up in the technical details, the algorithms, the data sets. But ultimately, AI is a reflection of us, of our values, our aspirations, even our fears.
It's a mirror, in a way.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to decide what we see reflected back at us.
Exactly. And that's why this framework is so valuable. It forces us to confront our own biases, our own comfort levels with different levels of AI autonomy.
It's like a gut check, in a way.
Exactly. It's not just about picking the shiniest new tech. It's about making conscious, informed choices about what role we want AI to play in our organizations and in our lives.
It's about aligning your AI strategy with your values, both as a company and as individuals.
100%. And I think that's something that often gets lost in all the hype. We get so excited about the potential of AI to do amazing things, and it does have that potential. But we can't lose sight of the human element in all of this.
It's not just about the technology, it's about the choices we make about how we use it.
Exactly. And those choices, they start with understanding. Understanding the technology itself, its capabilities, its limitations, the potential consequences of its use. And they also require us to understand ourselves, our values, our goals, and the kind of future we want to create.
Because ultimately, the future of AI isn't something that's going to be decided by algorithms. It's going to be shaped by the choices that we as humans make.
And those conversations, those difficult, sometimes uncomfortable conversations, those are the ones we need to be having right now.
Because the future is coming, whether we're ready for it or not.
Yeah.
So if you're out there listening, wrestling with these very questions, remember, it's not just about the bottom line.
It's about so much more than that.
It's about aligning your AI strategy with your values, your risk tolerance, and your vision for the future. And maybe, just maybe, it's about using this technology as an opportunity to learn a little bit more about who we are and what we want to become.
I love that. And on that note, this has been a fantastic discussion, really insightful.
It has. As always, thanks to you for joining us for another deep dive. And to all of you listening out there, until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep exploring the endlessly fascinating world around us.